Hey folks, this is Kalani. With patch 10.1.5 chugging away on the PTR realms, we've got our first glimpse at some big class changes coming our way. Hybrid healing is being targeted specifically, the new Evoker spec is being given even more options, the Holy Paladin rework is starting to take shape, and there are various other buffs and nerfs to talk about. There could also be some huge changes coming to how crests work to help get back some of your bag space, as well as a first look at some new content in patch 10.1.5. There's a lot to talk about, so let's break it all down. Now before we jump in, be sure to hit up that like button and subscribe so you never miss another video. Let's kick things off with our first round of big class changes, because there are some interesting dev notes here that will impact a lot of different classes. To start with, totems and pets that were previously immune to buffs and debuffs will now only be immune to buffs. That means dot classes will actually be able to dot up totems to kill them in PvP situations, which should feel much better for them, not so great for the shamans though. Another big change for a lot of classes is a nerf to overall hybrid healing potential. So for druids, Nature's Vigil duration was cut in half down to 15 seconds from 30. The dev notes here say that the abilities targeted for these changes are going to be Vampiric Embrace for Shadow Priests, Nature's Vigil for druids, and Ancestral Guidance for the shamans. These spells are currently so powerful that they can alleviate the need for a healer without interrupting the hybrid DPS's rotation. And I guess the dev team really don't want the healers being replaced, so hybrid healing is going to take a knock going into 10.1.5, so keep an eye out for those changes as we go through the notes. We've got some more balanced druid changes to try and provide more build diversity for the spec, with a few changes to specific talents. So we've got a 5% buff across the board, Waning Twilight was buffed slightly, Astral Smolder was cut in half, several other talents have small nerfs, some have been redesigned, Umbral Intensity was buffed, Fury Balloon damage was reduced by 10%, New Moon damage was increased by 100%, Half Moon is up 45%, and Full Moon is up 15%. So that talent should get a lot more value with these buffs in place. Orbit Breaker's Full Moon was reduced down to 60% though, so a lot of back and forth for balanced druid going into 10.1.5 with a general focus on shifting around talent choices and playstyle. Moving on, we have some changes for evokers. Most of this is going to be for the new spec, but there is a change to make Emerald Blossom heal after 1.5 seconds down from 2, so you should get the Emerald Blossom heals out a bit faster. As for augmentation, Pupil of Alexstrasza was nerfed to no longer fire too many living flames. There's a new talent that changes up your playstyle to become a pseudo healer instead of a pseudo damage dealer, so you can spend your essence on healing instead of damage, but still provide the same buff benefits to your group. Activate Wernstone can now be used while moving, and we also have the first set bonuses for this new spec. The 2 set is a simple damage increase to empower spells while Ebon Might is active, and then the 4 set improves Ebon Might by a small amount. Not the most exciting set bonuses in the world, but I imagine with the spec coming in halfway through a raid tier, we will probably see more interesting set bonuses in the next raid. With that being said, this is our first time seeing the set bonuses. They could very well change by the time the patch goes live. I'm still super excited to see how this spec evolves though. I think it's going to offer a unique playstyle that could be valuable in every kind of content. And then a quick change to preservation at the end to make Lifegiver's Flame heal up to 5 injured targets instead of just 1. Moving on, there are further changes for Holy Paladins, mainly talent changes, new talents being added into the mix, as well as some nerfs for Avenging Wrath. The crit chance is down to 15%, healing and damage increase also down to 15%, and the healing transfer for Avenging Crusader was knocked down to 400% from 500%. There was a 700% increase to Touch of Light healing though, which might be the single largest buff I've ever seen to an ability, so that's cool. And then there are a few other changes in here, like Crusader Strike cooldown being changed, some bug fixes, and Shield of the Righteous had its damage increased, but it will now be on the global cooldown. Up next, a quick change for the Shadow Priests. Vampiric Embrace duration is getting reduced down to 12 seconds from 15, so not quite the 15-second cut that the Druids saw earlier, but their hybrid healing will still end up less effective in the new patch. Rogues also have a quick change. For Outlaw, the Grand Melee buff from Roll the Bones is being changed to a 10% increase on Blade Flurry damage, including to your primary target, so that'll be very nice for AoE. And then the last class on the list for this week is the Shamans. Brimming with Life now applies the health bonus at all times, letting you freely use reincarnation whenever you want to, and Ancestral Guidance will only convert single target damage into healing instead of all damage. So there's the nerf for that hybrid healing mechanic, and then the Earthquake tooltip was updated for Elemental. Now remember that all of these changes are coming in patch 10.15, so don't expect to see any big changes before that patch does hit live servers. We will also most likely see a lot of class updates and balance tuning with each weekly PTR build, so keep an eye out for more changes coming our way. Another important update that might be coming our way sometime soon could change up how Shadowflame Crests are treated in the upgrade system. A lot of folks have complained that Shadowflame Crests and their current iteration adds a lot of bloat to our already shrinking inventory space. A recent blue post says, "The existing crest and fragment arrangement certainly contributes to inventory management concerns. While I can't promise anything at this early stage, moving crests to the currency tab is under serious consideration, and I think it's more likely to happen than not for next season. Additionally, having players capped on a given tier of crest getting the next tier down as fallback rewards is under discussion, and yes, I did implicitly reveal that our current tentative plans are that this system will be iterated on in Season 3. So there's quite a bit to unpack there. We could see fragments or crests move to the currency tab to keep them neater and out of our bags, which would be a great first step, but the fallback rewards for capped fragments is also very interesting. Right now, if you cap out on your aspect, worm or drake fragments, it can make certain content much less valuable to run, especially at the high end. Having to run 11 to 15 keys when you really want to be pushing 16 to 20s isn't super ideal, but this would solve that. With the fallback rewards, you could keep running content that earns those higher tiers of crests, and then when you cap out, you'll just get the next crest down. I really hope this will get introduced, because this would help everyone across the board with whichever crests they're farming the most of. And then at the end there, we also get that tease that the system will continue and be iterated upon in Season 3, which I don't think anyone should really be surprised about, considering how vast this system is and how much it encompasses. I also think this game-wide upgrade system is much better than what we had before, especially for the outdoor world content players specifically. So we might see something happen here in patch 10.1.5, or maybe even sooner. The dev team has been pretty quick with addressing a lot of smaller concerns in the current patch. Lots of bosses and trash mobs in Mythic Plus dungeons have been nerfed after players ran into problems. A lot of visuals have also been quickly edited to make them easier to see and track, and then there are even changes like the Aberrus name being shortened in the Looking for Group tool, so you can more easily see which groups are normal or heroic from a glance. Blizzard have been incredibly quick with some of these updates, which is definitely a welcome sight. So with crests filling up our bags and with some potentially amazing quality of life changes on the horizon, we might see some updates here sooner rather than later. We can always hope. And then the last PTR update we have this week is a brief look at the new invasion type event coming in 10.15, the Time Rifts. This is still in the early stages, but we can get a rough idea of what this gameplay loop is going to look like. They're going to be marked on the map, just like most other events in Dragonflight. It is the same horn icon right now, but that could change in a later PTR build. From the initial blue post describing this activity, it looks like it will be a multi-stage event where we push back invading forces from a rift in time, clear the entrance to the rift itself, and then go through to an alternate timeline where things are a bit wonky. We need to fix whatever is wrong on the other side to close down the rift and make sure our timeline remains secure. So it sounds like we'll have a boss on the other side at the very least, which will be a great place to put some new catch-up gear or just higher item level gear for solo content players to chase after. With the whole alternate timeline thing, we're sure to find some fun and interesting characters in the new patch. It is still early days though, so we don't really have much actual content to look at regarding this new feature, but we'll check back with it as the weekly PTR builds introduce new things to do and polish up what's already here. And then just in case you hadn't seen yet, we finally have some more details about BlizzCon 2023. It's still happening, it's still in the same location, and around about the same time of year. BlizzCon 2023 will be held on November 3rd and 4th, and we should get a lot of interesting news this year. I imagine Warcraft and Diablo will have a lot to talk about, and Hearthstone probably as well, but Starcraft seems to have been left in the dust, and I'm not even sure what's happening with Overwatch right now, but maybe we'll get a good update, I'm not too too sure. At least WoW looks good though. With the timing, I imagine we will definitely get a lot of information about patch 10.2 at the very least, but with that patch being the last step on our 2023 roadmap, I actually think we will probably know a lot about it before November. The patch itself will probably go live in November, so I wouldn't be surprised if BlizzCon is all about the last few patches of Dragonflight, maybe some hints about how a Season 4 could work, similar to the fated raids from Shadowlands, and then I do expect we will see the next expansion revealed at the very least. They might not deep dive into it and give us all the details, but I expect by the end of BlizzCon we will know where our WoW adventures are heading next and what the next expansion will be. So that's very exciting. Now we just have to decide on whether we want to go or not. But that's all of the news roundups for this week, including upcoming class changes, buffs and nerfs, as well as some new content on the public test realm. What do you think of the hybrid healing being nerfed, and how do you feel about augmentation evokers potentially filling that gap a bit more? Are you excited for more timey-wimey adventures with Chromie, and do you think we will see an expansion reveal at BlizzCon? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and to all of our members here on YouTube. You can see their names floating by on screen. If you'd like to add your name to the end of every video with a special shout out at the start of the next video, you can find links in the description over to Patreon or click the join button just below this video. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss another video. Thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.